Robert E. Lee, born into a storied Virginian family, became one of the most complex figures in American history. His military genius, his role as a symbol of the Confederacy, and his post-war efforts reflect a life steeped in historical significance. This video delves into the life of Lee, exploring his early life, his rise as a military leader, the trials of the American Civil War, and his legacy that continues to this day to spark debate. Through meticulous examination, we aim to uncover the full spectrum of Lee's impact on American history. Robert Edward Lee was born on January 19, 1807, at Stratford Hall, a grand estate nestled in Westmoreland County, Virginia. Stratford Hall, with its imposing Georgian architecture and expansive grounds, was more than just a family home. It symbolized the prominence and influence of the Lee family. Robert's father, Henry Lighthorse Harry Lee III, was a revered American Revolutionary War hero, celebrated for his daring cavalry raids and leadership. However, despite his military acclaim, Henry's financial mismanagement led to the decline in the family's fortunes. By the time Robert was 6 years old, the Lee family had significant challenges. Henry Lee's departure to the West Indies in 1812 in an attempt to restore the family's financial standing, ending in tragedy as he never returned. This left Anne Hill Carter Lee, Robert's mother, to navigate the complexities of single parenthood in a period marked by economic and social instability. Anne's resilience and determination were pivotal in shaping Robert's early character. During this period, young Robert's life was characterized by both privilege and adversity. He grew up amidst the lush landscape of Virginia, which was at once beautiful and demanding. The estate of Stratford Hall, though grand, could not shield the family from financial hardships that would follow. Anne Lee's strong influence and educational opportunities provided by private tutors and local schools were instrumental in Robert's formative years. This early exposure in both the elegance and the struggles of Virginia life provided Robert E. Lee with a unique perspective. The combination of his father's legacy, his mother's fortitude, and the challenging realities of their economic situation forged in him a sense of duty and resilience. These traits would later become central to his identity as a leader and military commander. In 1825, Robert E. Lee embarked on a transformative journey by entering the United States Military Academy at West Point. Established in 1802, West Point was a rigorous institution designed to produce the nation's future military leaders. Despite his family's financial struggles and his own uncertain future, Lee excelled in a demanding environment. At West Point, Lee's discipline and intellect set him apart. He was known for his exceptional academic performance, graduating second in his class of 1829. Remarkably, he achieved his distinction without a single demerit, a testament to his dedication and exemplary conduct. Lee's time at West Point was characterized by his commitment to both academic and physical excellence. Participate actively in military drills and engineering projects. His focus on engineering was particularly notable. As a cadet, Lee specialized in military engineering, which would later become a significant aspect of his career. His studies involved learning about fortifications, construction, military strategy, and practical engineering skills. Lee's aptitude in this field was evident in his later assignments, where he applied his knowledge to build and improve military infrastructure. Upon graduating, Lee was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the Engineer Corps of the U.S. Army. His early assignments included working on the construction of coastal fortifications, such as the defenses at Fort Carroll in Maryland and the fortifications of the Gulf Coast. These projects were crucial for protecting American interest and showcased Lee's engineering expertise. Lee's early career also involved service in various locations where he demonstrated a strong work ethic and an ability to adapt to different environments. His time spent overseeing the construction of military defenses in key strategic locations proved him with practical experience and laid the groundwork for his future military strategies. His attention to detail and innovative approach in engineering tasks earned him the respect of his superiors and peers, marking him as a promising officer. In June 1831, Robert E. Lee married Mary Anna Custis, a union that brought together two prominent Virginia families. Mary Anna was a direct descendant of Martha Washington, and her family's estate, White House, had a rich historical legacy. The marriage not only united Lee with a loving partner, but also bestowed upon him significant social standing and a substantial inheritance, including the iconic Arlington House. Arlington House, located on a commanding hill overlooking the Potomac River, became the couple's home and a symbol of their new status. The estate, designed in Greek Revival style, featured expansive grounds and elegant interiors, reflecting the grandeur of the Custis family's heritage. Lee's management of the estate involved overseeing agricultural operations, including the cultivation of crops and the care of livestock, as well as the complex task of managing the enslaved labor workforce of the estate. Mary Anna and Robert Lee's family life was marked by devotion and shared responsibility. The couple had 7 children: George Washington Custis Lee, Mary Custis Lee, Ann Carter Lee, Robert Edward Lee Jr., William Henry Fitzhugh Lee, Mildred Lee, and Margaretta Lee. Their home at Arlington was a bustling hub of family activities, social gatherings, and occasional public event. Lee's role as a father was characterized by affection and management. Despite his demanding military career, he maintained a close relationship with his children, often writing them letters and taking an active interest in their education and upbringing. Mary Anna, with her own responsibilities as a homemaker and hostess, played a crucial role in managing the household and supporting Lee's career. The management of Arlington House was not without its challenges. Lee's faced the difficulties of maintaining the estate's financial stability while navigating the complexities of managing enslaved labor. Despite these challenges, he sought to balance his responsibilities as a husband, father, and estate manager with his military duties, reflecting his commitment to both his family and his career. This period in Lee's life was characterized by a blend of personal fulfillment and professional challenging, setting the stage for pivotal decisions and events that would define his future. The Mexican-American War, which raged from 1846 to 1848, provided Robert E. Lee with a crucial opportunity to demonstrate his military prowess and strategic acumen. Serving under General Winfield Scott, Lee played a significant role in some of the conflict's most pivotal engagements. The war began with the U.S. invasion of the Mexican territories, and Lee's first action was during the siege of Veracruz, which took place from March 9th to 29th, 1847. The city of Veracruz, a key port and stronghold, was heavily fortified, presenting a formidable challenge to the American forces. Lee's engineering skills were put to the test as he worked tirelessly to design and implement siege works, including the construction of trenches and approaches that allowed the American forces to breach the city's defenses. His innovative strategies and effective leadership were instrumental in the successful capture of Veracruz and a turning point in the campaign. Following the capture of Veracruz, Lee continued to demonstrate his military acumen during the campaign for Mexico City. The Battle of Chapultepec, fought on September 12th to 13th, 1847, was a critical confrontation in this campaign. The fortress of Chapultepec, situated on a hill overlooking Mexico City, was a key defensive position for the Mexican forces. Lee's contributions were crucial in the assault of Chapultepec, where he led the construction of siege works and played a significant role in breaching the fortress walls. His engineering skills and tactical insights were highly praised, and his performance in the battle earned him the brevet rank of major for his bravery and leadership. Lee's service during the Mexican-American War was marked by his exceptional engineering capabilities and his ability to adapt to complexities of field operations. His work earned him recognition from his superiors and peers alike, and he was commended for his precise and effective execution of military engineering tasks. The experience gained during the Mexican-American War was invaluable to Lee, shaping his approach to future military engagements. His ability to manage complex logistical challenges and his keen understanding of military strategy would become defining features of his career. Following his distinguished service in the Mexican-American War, Robert E. Lee returned to Virginia in 1848. He resumed his role as the superintendent of Arlington Estate and took on a new set of responsibilities as a member of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. His return marked a period of transition, both personally and politically, as Virginia and the nation grappled with rising tensions that would ultimately lead to the American Civil War. Arlington House, now under Lee's stewardship, was a focal point of his efforts to restore and manage the estate. Lee's post-war activities included overseeing the agricultural operation of Arlington, improving the estate's infrastructure, and managing the workforce. His approach to estate management reflected his commitment to both family's legacy and the practical demand of maintaining a large estate. During the 1850s, the political landscape of the United States was increasingly dominated by the issue of slavery and states' rights. The debates over the expansion of slavery into new territories and states, combined with the growing sectionalism between North and South, created a volatile atmosphere. Virginia, with its deep-rooted ties to the South and its agricultural economy, reliant on slavery, was at the heart of this conflict. As tensions escalated, Lee found himself at a crossroad. Though he had been a lifelong servant of the U.S. Army, he was deeply tied to Virginia and tradition. The rise of radical movements, such as John Brown's raid on Harper's Ferry in 1859, which Lee would be called to suppress, and the intensifying calls of Southern secession placed Lee in an increasingly difficult position. His correspondence from this period reveals his concerns about growing divide and his reflection on potential consequences for the nation. The situation reached a critical point with the election of Abraham Lincoln in 1860 and the subsequent secession of Southern states. Lee, while initially hoping for a peaceful resolution, increasingly found himself drawn into the secessionist fervor of his home state. His personal and professional ties to Virginia, combined with his commitment to his family and their estate, made the decision to side with the Confederacy, a deeply personal and complex one. The period leading up to the American Civil War is marked by Lee's internal conflict and the growing realization that the nation was on the brink of disunion. His return to Virginia and the subsequent events would set the stage for the pivotal role in the forthcoming conflict, shaping both his destiny and the future of the country. As the storm clouds of war gathered over the United States, Robert E. Lee faced a profound personal and professional dilemma. When Virginia seceded from the Union on April 17, 1861, Lee, who had been offered command of the Union Army by President Lincoln, chose to resign from the U.S. Army and align himself with his home state. This decision marked a dramatic shift in his life and set him on a path that would define his legacy. Lee's departure from the Union Army was a matter of deep personal conviction and loyalty to Virginia. Despite his long-standing service in the United States, Lee's commitment to his home state and his secessionist cause led him to accept a commission as a Confederate general. He was appointed as a senior military advisor to President Jefferson Davis, and his expertise in military strategy and engineering quickly earned him a prominent role in the Confederate military hierarchy. The beginning of the Civil War was marked by several events, including the attack on Fort Sumter on April 12, 1861, which ignited the conflict. As the war unfolded, the Confederate forces faced early challenge and sought to establish their military strength. Lee's role as a military advisor involved strategic planning and organizing the Confederate forces, laying the groundwork for their early campaigns. One of the first major engagements of the war was the First Battle of Bull Run, or Manassas, on July 21, 1861. Lee, who was not yet in command of the Army of Northern Virginia, but played a crucial role in the battle, observed and contributed to the strategic planning and execution. The battle, which ended in a Confederate victory, was a significant morale booster for the South and demonstrated Lee's strategic insight. Throughout these early days of the war, Lee's reputation as a tactician and leader continued to grow. His decisions and strategies were instrumental in shaping the Confederate Army's early successes and establishing his position as one of the Confederacy's leading military figures. His approach to warfare, marked by decisive actions and innovative tactics, would become a hallmark of his command throughout the conflict. The start of the American Civil War was a period of intense transformation for Lee, as he shifted from a peacetime officer to a key military leader in a war that would reshape the nation. His early involvement in the conflict set the stage for the pivotal battles and strategic decisions that would follow. In June 1862, Robert E. Lee was appointed commander of the Army of Northern Virginia, a position that would define his military career and shape the course of the American Civil War. The Army of Northern Virginia became the primary fighting force of the Confederacy in the Eastern Theater, and under Lee's leadership, it achieved both remarkable victories and faced significant challenges. The first major test as a commander came with the 7 Days Battle, a series of engagements fought from June 25th to July 1st, 1862. These battles were crucial as they marked the Confederate response to the Union General George McClellan's Peninsula Campaign, an attempt to capture Richmond, the Confederate capital. Lee's aggressive tactics and strategic maneuvers, including the use of misleading movements and surprise attacks, ultimately forced McClellan to retreat. The 7 Days Battle demonstrated Lee's ability to effectively manage and coordinate large-scale military operations. Following the success of the 7 Days Battle, Lee's army continued to achieve significant victories. At the Battle of Second Bull Run, or Manassas, in August of 1862, Lee, in coordination with his trusted lieutenant, General Stonewall Jackson, delivered a decisive defeat to Union forces under General John Pope. This victory solidified Lee's reputation as a formidable commander and further established the Army of Northern Virginia as a dominant force in the Eastern Theater. The Battle of Fredericksburg, fought on December 13, 1862, was another key confrontation. Lee's defensive position on the heights beyond Fredericksburg provided a strong advantage against Union General Ambrose Burnside's forces. The battle showcased Lee's defensive strategy, utilizing the terrain to his advantage and achieving a resounding Confederate victory despite heavy Union assault. Lee's strategic brilliance was further evident in the Battle of Chancellorsville, fought from April 30th to May 6, 1863. Facing Union General Joseph Hooker's much larger force, Lee executed a daring and unconventional strategy by dividing his army and sending Stonewall Jackson on a flanking maneuver. Jackson's surprise attack led to a significant Confederate victory, though it came at the cost of Jackson's life, a blow to Lee and the Confederate leadership. However, the most significant challenging battle for Lee and the Army of Northern Virginia was the Battle of Gettysburg, fought from July 1st to 3rd, 1863. The battle was a turning point in the Civil War, with Lee's forces facing the Union Army under General George Gordon Meade. Despite his tactical ingenuity, including the controversial Pickett's Charge, the battle ended in a decisive Union victory. Gettysburg marked a turning point for the Confederate Army, with Lee's subsequent retreat signaling the beginning of a prolonged and grueling defensive struggle. Throughout his command, Lee was known for his strategic foresight and his ability to inspire his troops. His leadership style was characterized by a combination of bold tactics, adaptability, and his deep personal commitment to his men. His correspondence and personal letters reveal a leader who is deeply engaged in the well-being of his soldiers and the broader strategic picture. The Army of Northern Virginia, under Lee's command, became synonymous with the Confederate effort in the East, representing both the strengths and the limitations of the Southern cause. Lee's leadership during this period was marked by both brilliant victories and challenging setbacks, setting the stage for the latter phases of the war. As the Civil War dragged into its final year, the Confederate Army, led by Robert E. Lee, faced mounting pressure and significant challenges. The once formidable Army of Northern Virginia, which had achieved notable successes, was now grappling with dwindling resources, exhausted troops, and relentless Union offenses. The Wilderness Campaign, which began in May of 1864, marked the start of grueling confrontation between Lee and General Ulysses S. Grant. The dense, tangled terrain of the Wilderness of Virginia made for brutal and inconclusive battles, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. Lee's tactical prowess was evident as he sought to leverage his knowledge of the terrain to counter Grant's superior numbers. However, the campaign underscored the shifting balance of power, with Grant's strategy of continuous pressure wearing down the Confederate forces. The subsequent Battle of Spotsylvania Court House and Cold Harbor in May and June of 1864 were marked by fierce combat and significant losses on both sides. At Spotsylvania, Lee's defensive position were tested by Grant's relentless assaults. and while Lee managed to hold his line, the cost in lives and resources was staggering. The Battle of Cold Harbor, fought in early June, saw Grant's failed frontal assault against well-entrenched Confederate defenses, resulting in a costly and bloody engagement that demoralized the Union forces. As the war continued and into 1865, the situation for Lee's army grew increasingly dire. The Union forces under Grant systematically moved to cut off Confederate supply lines and encircle Lee's army. The Union's successful siege of Petersburg, a key Confederate supply center, was a critical blow to the Confederate cause. The prolonged siege, which lasted from June 1864 to April 1865, saw Lee's army increasingly cut off from essential supplies and reinforcements. The final stage of the war culminated in the Appomattox campaign, a series of engagements that sealed the fate of the Confederate Army. By early April 1865, Lee's forces were surrounded and faced the prospect of total annihilation. On April 9th, 1865, Robert E. Lee, recognizing the impossibility of further resistance, met with General Ulysses S. Grant at Appomattox Court House to negotiate the terms of surrender. The meeting was held in the parlor of the McLean House, was marked by a sense of formality and respect. Grant's generous terms, which allowed Confederate soldiers to return to their homes and their houses and personal belongings, reflected a desire to begin the process of healing and reconstruction. The surrender at Appomattox marked the effective end of the Civil War, with Lee's capitulation signifying the collapse of the Confederate military resistance. The aftermath of the surrender brought profound changes to the South, as the region faced the challenges of Reconstruction and the reintegration of former slaves into society. In the final days following the surrender, Lee returned to his family at an Arlington house, which had been confiscated by the Union and later became a national cemetery. His post-war years were marked by efforts to rebuild his life and contribute to the restoration of peace in the nation. Lee's reflections on the war and its impact were conveyed through his correspondence and public statements as he sought to navigate the difficult path of reconciliation. The fall of the Confederacy and Lee's surrender at Appomattox represented the culmination of a tumultuous and transformative period in American history. Lee's leadership during the war characterized both remarkable achievements and significant struggles, left a lasting legacy that continues to be studied and debated today. After the surrender at Appomattox, Robert E. Lee returned to a drastically changed world. Arlington House, which had been confiscated by the Union during the war, was now a national cemetery. Lee faced the daunting task of rebuilding his life and contributing to the healing process of a nation deeply scarred by conflict. Lee's post-war period was marked by his transition from a military leader to an educator and public figure. In October of 1865, Lee accepted a position as president of Washington College in Lexington, Virginia, a role that allowed him to channel his energies into education and leadership. The college, which would later be renamed Washington and Lee University in his honor, provided Lee with an opportunity to influence the next generation and support the reconstruction of the South. As president of Washington College, Lee focused on restoring the institution's academic standards and financial stability. His leadership was characterized by commitment to improving the college's curriculum and fostering a spirit of reconciliation and unity. Lee worked closely with faculty, students, and alumni, emphasizing the importance of education as a means to rebuild and strengthen the post-war South. Despite his dedication to the college, Lee's health began to decline in the late 1860s. The physical toll and emotional toll of the war, combined with his age, contributed to his weakening condition. Lee's personal correspondence from this period reflects his concerns about his health and his ongoing efforts to fulfill his duties at the college. Lee's contributions to Washington College and his role in promoting reconciliation earned him widespread respect and admiration. His appearances and speeches during this time were often centered around themes of healing and rebuilding the nation. He became a symbol of the Southern cause and a figure of moral and intellectual leadership. On October 12, 1870, Robert Edward Lee passed away at the age of 63. His death marked the end of a tumultuous era and the close of a significant chapter in American history. The reaction to his passing was profound, with many viewing him as a symbol of Southern honor and resilience. Lee's funeral was attended by a large number of mourners, and he was buried in the chapel at Washington and Lee University. In the years following his death, Lee's legacy continued to be the subject of considerable debate and reflection. His role as a military leader, educator, and a symbol of the Confederacy has been examined and interpreted in various ways. The establishment of memorials and honors, including monuments and institutions named in his honor, reflects the enduring impact of his career. Robert E. Lee's post-war life and legacy are remembered as a complex and multifaceted story. His efforts in education and reconciliation, combined with his military achievements and personal challenges, contribute to his place in American history. Lee's legacy remains a topic of discussion and analysis, reflecting broader narrative of the American Civil War and its aftermath. Thank you for joining us on this detailed journey through the life and legacy of Robert E. Lee. From his early years in military command to his post-war contributions and lasting impact, we've explored the complex narrative of one of the most prominent figures in American history. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to History with Tim for more in-depth historical content. Your support helps us continue bringing you comprehensive and engaging historical analysis. We also encourage you to check out the American Preservation Fund page, where you can support our national parks and contribute to preserving the history we cherish. Every contribution makes a difference. Join us next time as we delve into another pivotal figure or event that shaped our world. Until then, stay curious and keep exploring history.